Hi, I'm Steve Mack from the Cool Notes, and this is my office, as we say. We've just finished filming our documentary about our journey, and that's in the process of being made now. And we asked you if there are any questions you wanted us to put on the documentary. A few of you actually said, how do we make our music? How do we go about doing our thing, as you say? So that sort of like spurred me on, and I thought, well, you know what? Why don't we show you? So I thought it'd be a good idea to take you behind the mix. Oh yes. Now we've got a brand new single coming out, the very first for a very long time. It's on the album already, fully mixed, but we're going to do a remix for the single. So I thought, why don't we start from the very, very beginning, and you can follow me as I show you how I do my thing. It's not about showing you how to use the kit or how it works. It's more about you just following us on our journey, how we build our tracks, and how I do my thing in the studio. We are going to remix our brand new single, which is a track on the album, and we've decided we're going to release that one first. And that particular track has about 75 tracks, individual tracks on it. So that would be too much work to pull that apart. So I thought what I'd do, we'd start from scratch, and I'll take you through my process of how I build the songs. Well, I normally start with the drums, and as it's a remix, I'm going to show you how I go about doing that. So let's go and have a look at my first step. So one of the first things I like to try and do is try to figure out what kind of style or what kind of beat I'm looking for. Now we know in this particular track it's an upbeat track. It's 107 beats, I believe. Yeah, 107 beats a minute, and so it's kind of moving, and it's got a nice groove to it. So I want to try. My idea is to try and make this a bit more groovy, a bit more funky, and a bit more jazzy, I suppose. Making it especially for radio and for club. So the first thing I would do is I'd look around for a drum pattern, because the drums for me are going to form the foundation of the track. So I've got many loops which I've built over the years, some of my own, some that we buy online, all sort of like royalty free. We don't want to get involved in samples, too much problems there. We use our own sounds typically, and I'll try and put a loop together. So I've put this little loop together which gives me the right sort of feel, and it goes like this. So you can hear that it's got a nice little shuffle. I'm using, as a template, I'm using this groove, and so as you can hear, it's kind of thin. There's no bass drum in there. I can hear the bass drum beat, not really fat enough. So my process now, I like that groove. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm actually gonna break that down into different sections. I'm gonna replay the hi-hat, the shakers, the bass drum, the snare, and I'm gonna make my own drum pattern. And so that's how I'd start off. I'd make, say, maybe an 8-bar loop. Now, the next sort of instant thing I'd do, besides the drums, I would now plot my song out, because we already know the song. The song's already made, so we're not going to be making this song up or writing this song. It's already been done. So we know the plot of the song. I'm going to rearrange it slightly, so the intro's slightly different to the verse, and the bridge may come in later or earlier. So I don't know if you can see this, but on the top line here, I've got an arranged track. So I've arranged the song into bars, like 4-bar intro, 8-bar chorus, then maybe another instrumental 4 bars before, I'd call it a pre-chorus before the actual verse, a pre-verse before the verse actually comes in. And I'll do that. So I've got my basic arrangement, so that I can, when I've done my drum pattern, I can start placing them in place. Now, I've spent a bit of time getting the drum sounds that I want. That's the bit, that's the bit that takes a bit of time. I've kind of gone through a load of sounds that I like. So now I've got a bass drum, I've got a snare drum, I've got a hi-hat, I've got some shakers, I've got a tambourine, I've got some congos, I've got a bit of a percussion loop, which I want to show you. And I've got all those sounds that I actually like. So now I'm going to actually program them, and I'm going to put them together into my own loop. And so I'll show you the individual sounds that I've picked out at the moment. So here's the bass drum. I don't know if you can hear that. It's got a nice, snappy, tight feel to it. I will, on the mix, actually add a parallel bass drum to it with a lot more boom in it, so we get a nice fat sounding bass drum. But that's the basic bass drum I'm going to work with on this loop. And I've given myself a nice steady hat pattern, as you can hear. because I know I'm going to have shakers and tambourines that are going to be moving around quite a lot. So this kind of works without getting in each other's way. So I'm using a typical 2/4 snare. I think it's a 909 one, I think, and just typical 909 2/4, as you can hear. I'll add some claps. Now you've got to have your claps. You know you've got to have your claps. Oh yeah, so there's, and I've done my claps in, I like mine in stereo on this particular track. So I'm using stereo claps. I'll do one on each side. I put a slight delay on each one so it sort of like doesn't phase out. So in my loop, I love to add some shakers, and I put some shakers on this loop, in the same loop. And I don't know if you can hear this. I'm going to do a stereo shaker loop because I love the way they sound in headphones. That's the right side. I don't know if you can hear that, and that's the left side. And together they sound amazing. There you go. So that's my shakers. I love to add percussion into my tracks, and what I do, I start off with a little percussion loop that really works well. Kind of holds the whole beat steady together, you know. And then I'll obviously play my own percussion on top of that. So this is the loop I've found so far. Yeah, I really like that loop. And then what I love to do from my drum plugin, I love to play my own congas. So I've programmed this as my own. So I'll mix that in with the percussion loop, and they sound great together. And as I start building the arrangement of the actual remix, I'll start adding some like drum effects. For example, like this reverse cymbal and crash cymbals, as you can hear there. They kind of add a bit of suspense, or it kind of lets you know that something's come in, and is normally a chorus or a bridge. There's another cymbal. I like to add things like snare rolls and tom rolls. In fact, I haven't got any toms in this one, didn't need it, but a little snare roll. I'll kind of add this to the track, and I'll splash them around the song. So different various snare rolls. So now we've added all those elements into it: bass drum, snare, hi-hat, a few loops, percussion, congos, shakers, tambourine, a few snare rolls, a few reverse cymbals. And that's the basis of making my loop up. And I'll put them into 8-bar sections, and I'll rearrange them slightly different in each section. Obviously, knowing the song, it's a remix, we already know the song, I'll know where to drop things out. So I have a full loop, and then I'll take things out in the mix. And so what I've come up with so far is this. So I've done a small, slight mix of that, just so I can work with it. They're all individual tracks. I think I've got about 12 going on there now, about 12 tracks going on. And I'll loop them, and I'll put them together in their sections. So when I'm happy with that, that will be the basis of how I get my drums working. I need to get the drums as the foundation working so I can get my next level, which will be the bass. So I'm going to go off and arrange all this now, put them in place. And on the next one, we're going to talk about how I do the bass, and how I go about getting the bass sound that I want, which is it depends on the song you're making and what you're doing. But we'll talk about on the next episode. So please join me on the next one. So we'll simply call the next episode bass, add in the bass, and how we get to that, because we need the bass now to start getting the song to take shape. And it's funny how you actually do feel the groove working with the right bass line, which in my case can sometimes take me quite a long time. And I think it's going to, because I think with this one I've got quite a funky moving bass going on. So I've got a lot of programming to do. And oh, by the way, if you're liking what I'm doing, please like and share, because hopefully you'll follow me with the next episodes. So I'll see you in the next one. Okay.